Blue Beetle is the first DC superhero movie to come out of the new DCU universe by James Gunn. It's also the first DC movie to have a Latino superhero as the main character, and honestly, despite all the harsh critiques it gets, I thought the movie itself was pretty good. Of course, everyone's entitled to their own beliefs, but I believe that a lot of people are kind of unfairly judging this movie, both by the now standard of superhero movies and a lot of people's complaints about woke propaganda simply because it's a Latino superhero film, which gets kind of annoying that people immediately just jump to the conclusion of wokeness whenever there's a superhero of color or something. Blue Beetle is about a young man named Jaime Reyes who comes into contact with an alien artifact called the Scarab, being studied and reverse engineered by a tech company called Cord to create their own version of advanced military weapons. Jaime needs to stop this from happening with the help of his family while also learning how to work with something like the Scarab. Pretty simple storyline that I think is more than enough to make for its own movie. A lot of people have said that this is the best DCU movie that's come out in years, which is usually said as either a compliment or a backhanded one, since a lot of recent DC movies, or superhero movies in general for the past couple of years, hasn't really been doing well, both in storytelling and reception from both the audience and box office. Me personally, I really fucking like this movie. Sure, a lot of people like things that are considered bad, but I think Blue Beetle is a genuinely good movie. Could it have been better? Oh, fuck yeah, obviously. It definitely could have been better. The fight scenes were cool, but me personally, if I was in that writer's room, I would have been cooking up something crazy. I would have taken advantage of that $104 million budget for a crazy fight scene. But is it a god awful movie that should have never been made, which is what a lot of people say? Absolutely not. I feel like people are exaggerating a lot, honestly, basically calling it the failure of the new DCU or even a ripoff of fucking Spider Man or Iron Man, which really tells me that a lot of people who say this don't know who or what the Blue Beetle is. It's not a movie with just MCU humor or littered with Mexican stereotypes or anything like that. On its own, it's a better movie than people give credit for. A lot of people say that because it follows a superhero formula, you've basically seen Blue Beetle before. A main character who's probably down on his luck, obtaining a powerful weapon or a superpower, and a stereotypical bad guy who's very financially powerful wants to take advantage of it and fights a superhero with an ability similar to their own. Like, of course, Venom and Ant-Man. Yeah, I've seen Venom, and yeah, I've seen Ant-Man, but just because I watched those two movies doesn't mean I basically watched the Blue Beetle, because even though they follow a similar storyline, there's still many vastly different things. Different characters, different powers, different motivations, different settings. Eddie Brock lost his job. Scott Lang just got out of prison and is trying to be better for his daughter. Jaime Reyes is desperate to financially take care of his family. Ant-Man's suit is only about shrinking and growing, and it was already made by a scientist. The Venom symbiote and the Scarab are similar but still pretty different, with the symbiote having its own personality and urges while creating both armor and weapons organically. The Scarab only wants to protect Jaime and wants the best for him and creates both weapons and armor through technology. Yeah, it does follow a superhero formula, but is it bad? Not to me. I understand that many people are getting tired of it, which is completely understandable, but in my eyes, I don't think that particularly makes it a genuinely bad movie. There's also the comparisons that people always make. Like I said earlier, people have called Blue Beetle a ripoff of both Iron Man and Spider-Man, which is not true at all. What's similar between Blue Beetle and Spider-Man? Usually they're both young, inexperienced, financially struggling, they've got round heads but very expressive eyes despite not showing their face, and they've both been given a power they didn't ask for. But that's about it. Sure, people might be talking about the MCU Spider-Man, but still. Oh, Jaime's suit talks to him just like MCU Spider-Man's suit does? The Scarab has been talking to him since the comics made 15 years ago. That's not a ripoff. What's similar between him and Iron Man? Almost nothing. They both just have advanced suits. Jaime's was created by aliens called the Reach, while Tony Stark built all his suits by himself. The Scarab can create a multitude of weapons and different types of armor, while most of Tony's suits have a specific purpose with their own specific weapons and design. The closest suit that's most similar to the Scarab was the nanotech one shown in Infinity War and Endgame, but besides that, there's nothing else. Also, Tony Stark is rich, Jaime is not. It sounds like people make that comparison because they either don't know much about the Blue Beetle or just want to find reasons to hate it for some reason or both. Superhero fatigue is a completely understandable critique that I can 100% get behind, but I just feel like people are making unfair comparisons to these movies, both the bad ones and the great ones. People comparing it to Multiverse of Madness and Quantumania to some of the better ones like Shazam, The Batman, and Infinity War, just automatically assuming that it's going to be on the same level as the more bad ones, but yet holding it to the same standard of the better ones. Expecting a good written movie is obviously something you are going to do, but how are people going to hold it to this standard automatically, but then expect it to be the standard of this? It's a bit contradictory to me. I've seen people say that it has racist stereotypes of Latin Americans, which is one of the biggest critiques that this movie gets. Where? What are these stereotypes? I've seen people say that it has offensive stereotypes about us, but what are they? Most of these stereotypes is just a Hispanic family acting like a regular Hispanic family, and people just assuming it's a stereotype. Oh, his family ate tacos when Jaime returned back home? So what? He's Mexican, he's Latino, he's probably gonna eat the food that's part of his culture. Should I get mad at Shang-chi, a Chinese character eating Chinese food in the movie? They ate tacos for like 10 seconds. That's what people consider an offensive stereotype? What else is an offensive racist stereotype? His grandma giving him vapor rub when she thought he was sick? His dad calling him mijo? His grandma doing the cross? His family having the decorations that an average Hispanic family would maybe have, like a picture of the Virgin Mary? A big thing that really harmed this film, in my opinion, was people just straight up exaggerating the shit out of it and straight up lying. I'm sure most of you guys are aware of this video called Let's Talk About Blue Beetle, with the taco in the thumbnail and fucking Consuela from Family Guy, Jesus. And that video was deadass just so much misinformation about the movie. Like one of them asking that because Jaime is Hispanic, does every single thing about him have to be tacos? And mentioning the scene of him eating a taco.
He happens to be Hispanic. Does every single aspect of his life have to be tacos? Yeah. They're like, let's go get tacos.
That's just assuming that being Mexican is only about tacos. And who gives a fuck if he ate a taco? That taco was on screen for 3 seconds. Then he misquotes one of the characters.
Into their house and she's like, that's where Mama told us how to make salsa.
Is it the
when she never said that.
Yeah, no, I still think you don't know how to dance salsa.
Salsa is also a dance. Even if she did say make salsa, so what? A lot of people of different cultures learn to make foods from their culture. It was just a constant amount of assuming that every single thing that the family did in the movie was a stereotype when it was not. Like him saying that everything had to be about tacos when it was not. People were defending this type of critique, saying that it's a valid point that Blue Beetle only brought Mexican culture down to just tacos when it fucking didn't. It's your fault for thinking of Mexican culture as just tacos. Jesus Christ, there was literally only one taco throughout the movie. There were also complaints that just because it's an ethnic family, they have to be a bit political. Like the scene where Jaime walks up to the receptionist at the court building and she assumes he's only there to handle deliveries. People want to complain about that, saying that never happens. But the thing is, it does happen. It's fucking happened before. Why do you think it was pointed out in the movie? Talking about the political critique and the critique that whenever there's a movie about people of color, everything in the movie has to be about that culture. 1, that's not true, and 2, so what if it is? So what if Shang-Chi's Chinese culture makes up a good part of the movie? So what if Black Panther's African culture makes up most of the movie? There's 2 issues with this critique. 1, it doesn't apply to Blue Beetle, since even though Mexican culture has a good involvement in the story, the entire movie is not about Mexican culture, so that critique doesn't apply to Blue Beetle. 2, genuinely, why does it matter? A lot of superheroes who are people of color with their own culture, a lot of who they are comes from that culture, and so obviously it's going to have an impact on the story. Like with Shang-Chi, a Chinese superhero. Chinese culture and mythology plays a part in the movie, a very large part. From his family, his origin, the characters like the Death Dealer, and even outside things like the creatures from Chinese mythology, like the guardian lions, the foxes, the Kirin, the Hundan, and of course the dragon. So what if the culture makes up a big part of the movie? There were people even mad about the reference to El Chapulín, Colorado. I think it's a nice reference as many Mexicans and Latin Americans in general know about him and love him. Now I believe a portion of the harsh criticisms and misinformation about this movie does stem from racism, Now, I'm not going to be like Twitter or TikTok and just start accusing people of being racist, like, oh, you don't like Blue Beetle because you hate Mexicans, you hate Latinos. Like, I'm not going to fucking act like that, you know? I'm not going to do that. But still, thinking that this movie is all about fucking tacos and validating issues that Mexicans and Latin Americans in general go through, it's a bit hypocritical to try to call out this movie on making racist stereotypes, even though it never did, when those same people are the ones stereotyping it. I'm not Mexican myself, I'm Puerto Rican. There were several times in the movie where I could see myself in it, where I could see my family in it, and that's one of the reasons why I genuinely like this movie. Not to mention, many other Mexican viewers have said that their families act similar to the family in the movie. I think these types of critiques are pretty harmful, to be honest. When people go around and start saying shit that's not even true about a movie, other people who have seen it aren't going to give it a chance. If someone hears that Blue Beetle is making racist stereotypes about Hispanics, they probably won't go see the movie when there was nothing like that at all, which is pretty unfair to both the viewer and the people behind the movie. It's perfectly fine to not like Blue Beetle. It's perfectly fine to point out the flaws it has. Yeah, the scarab 100% should have been guarded more. That would have added more content to how Jenny would have had to figure out how to obtain the scarab. Conrad should have been developed more. Even though technically he's not the main villain, he was still a villain who should have had more put into him. Only in his last minute do we see some sort of humanization for him, which was a nice scene, but having more moments of him being humanized, like him questioning his belief that family means nothing, I believe would have added more to his character, and it would have added more to Victoria Court as well. There are of course definite flaws with the movie, but the constant unfair critiques about it and the spreading of misinformation is just crazy to me. It's like when the third Jurassic World movie came out and people were saying that it was god-awful, incomprehensibly bad, but when I walked out of that theater, I looked over at my homie, right? And I was like, alright, it was not that fucking bad. Like, was that movie perfect? Fuck no. But was it so horrifically god-awful? Still no. This movie deserved better, honestly. It didn't deserve to go through the writer's strike that was going on, which definitely impacted its reception at the box office, and it didn't deserve the straight up lies and exaggeration that so many people online were making about it. Now obviously Blue Beetle isn't perfect, but it's a hell of a lot better than people say it is. I want to make a video talking about why I love Blue Beetle so much. This video isn't even exactly a defense of the movie. I'm just saying that half the shit people say about it isn't even true and it's unfairly compared to other movies. I'm gonna make a video explaining why I love it though. Will it be my next video? God no. I'm probably gonna talk about Whiplash or Metal Gear Rising or something. Might even talk about an alien sighting or something, or Jujutsu, Ben 10, I don't know. You guys should give me something to talk about. Will it be a video in the future? Yes. Anyways, thanks for watching. Please follow my socials. I got them in the description. Join my Patreon. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you guys think in the comments and what I should talk about next. Please be kind to yourselves and each other. Thanks for watching.